So this is it?
Yeah, so this is the car I built a long time ago.
You built it?
Yeah, I started when I was 15. When you're 15 you think you can do anything, if you just wouldn't mind not zooming in too much. You can see a few aspects of where it hasn't quite been done perfectly, but in any event, it's all worked out alright. Set off people's car alarms, which obviously I wouldn't do because that'd be antisocial. But yeah, so what we're going to do is just check out how the oil's looking. I suspect not so good. It's a Mazda MX-5 engine, which is the relevant thing here, so we're going to change the oil on that, but it's in a scratch-built Lotus 7 replica, so a little British sports car that I built when I was a kid. Extremely disturbing result. So,
how often do you get under the hood?
Lucky sort of once or twice a year. I mean, I'll try and keep it warranted, keep it running, but I actually haven't changed the oil for a couple of years.
David, while you're doing this,
Yeah.
I'll ask you a few questions, a few easy ones.
Yeah.
Who is David Seymour?
Oh, he's just a guy who's trying to make time on Earth worthwhile. You know, leave things a bit better than I found them, have some fun, and you know, be good to others around me along the way.
And you graduated with a Bachelor of Engineering and Bachelor of Arts, is that right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what led you to then decide to go down the politics route?
Had a bit of a flame, I guess, when I was in sixth form, which for the young people is year 12. I heard that there was a big fight between the principal of my school and a guy called Trevor Mallard, who at that time was the Minister of Education, and they were fighting over the introduction of NCEA. And long story short, my principal said, look, this thing's never going to work, the standards will drop, and well, that's nice and loose there, and you know, we'll gradually go down the international league tables, which sadly is what happened. So our principal was right and Trevor Mallard was wrong, but as a kid I thought, how could the government possibly be wrong? And then I looked into it, I found out it happens quite often.
So Trevor Mallard was one of the reasons you became a politician?
Yep, no, he hasn't done much good, but he did get me into politics. So
When you were younger, you did a bit of acting. How did you get into that?
just come from Whangarei to go to school here in Auckland, and the whole world was just enormous. Right. And then I was sitting there listening in assembly. They're looking for a student to play Edmund Hillary as a kid. Anyway, I was in this place that I'd been in 4 weeks and it was all amazing. I thought, well, bugger me, I'll have a go.
You got it?
Yeah, and the guy who was the head of drama at the school said that he'd been upclassed twice, so he was quite scared and he had quite an overbite. So I just sort of sit there and looked like this, and they picked me. The fact that I could meet Sir Edmund Hillary and be on the TV for a 13-year-old kid was just mind-blowing. So I was so lucky I had that experience, and I think it probably made me think, well, actually, you know, anyone can do anything, and that's part of my sort of wider view, is that I think that we should be looking more at what's possible.
How's that oil? Pretty dirty?
This is, honestly, this is like Vladimir Putin oil, it's so dirty.
Dancing with the Stars. Was that a big moment for you? Did that kind of catapult you into another world in terms of public awareness?
Yeah, it did, just on the sheer numbers. I mean, you know, there were 400,000 people watching that show. I mean, that's more than the news. It meant that people got to see a side of me that they wouldn't normally get to see, because they'd only see, you know, a snippet of politics. Whereas, you know, over 9 excruciating weeks, people got to see how Amelia and I sort of fought the whole world for good. We were anti-bullying, we were showing that anyone could do it. Oh, that was good fun. Look, every week we had to do enough to keep us relevant and in the show, but not do so much that it would ruin the rest of our political career. And networking was probably the closest we got to facially overstepping that mark.
Sometimes a bit of criticism of some of the things that you say, some of the jokes you've made. How do you straddle the line between humour and not going too far, not offending people? Because there's some people who say that a lot of the things you say might be race baiting or might be offensive. How do you find straddling that line?
Yeah, it's never what I say, it's always what other people are saying about what I said that seems to be the issue. And I think most people can work that through. But if you think about the standard that you're setting, if you're saying, I can't ever say anything that anybody might try and interpret as offensive or misinterpret for political gain as being offensive, if that's the standard, then we're just not going to have any kind of communication, dialogue, debate or discussion at all. And actually I think New Zealand needs good, honest, healthy debate.
If you become a senior minister or a deputy prime minister, do you think you'll change your approach or your tone in any sort of way?
No, I don't imagine I would. What I want to be judged on is, are we, for example, improving the way regulations and laws are made in New Zealand? Because right now we're just dumping red tape and regulation and killing the Kiwi spirit. So I want to be judged on that. If I screw up at that, then come at me. It's my fault and I'll own it. But if people are going to, if New Zealand's future is to be a sort of a place where people police each other's jokes with an nth degree of sanity, then far out, there's no future in that.
Do you see David Seymour being a career politician, or once you've had your stint at government and you've left government, is that it?
Oh God, no! If I'm still here in 20 years' time, then you've got permission to, euthanize me. I certainly don't want to be. I never wanted to be a career politician. I don't want to be a career politician.
Got some quick fire questions.
Sure.
If you weren't in politics, what would you be doing right now?
Well, I'd like to think I'd still be engineering, but that's what I was doing before I went off to work for a think tank. But if I wasn't doing engineering, I'd probably be doing some sort of economics, public policy type role. If I had to be another animal, I mean, it's hard to go past dolphins. I was up in Niue a few years back, and actually you'd never be able to do this with health and safety in New Zealand, but there was a guy who'd actually had some ropes tied to the bow of his boat, and with a snorkel on, you hold onto the rope, it'd actually drag you along under his boat. Right. So the dolphins would bow wave, and so for several minutes we were actually in the dolphin pod, which normally, like, you try and swim with the dolphins at the Bay of Islands and like not taking anything away from them, it's an awesome experience too, but the dolphins are just like, when you're just sitting there like a dumb human, whereas we actually were within the pod, so that was an awesome experience. So I guess if I had to not be a human, I'd probably be a dolphin.
What was the last book that you read?
Oh, that's tough. I'm reading two at the moment. One is Never Split the Difference.
What's it about?
It's about negotiating. So I figured it might be handy. And I'm rereading Dame Claudia Orange's The Treaty of Waitangi, which I read years ago, but I'm just rereading that at the moment.